5 minutes, Mr. Mayor.
I was thinking of the house. 1 minute away. Okay, it is 9:01. It is 9:01 a.m. I'll call this meeting to order. Madam City Admin, call for.
Commissioner Sebastian Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Raymond Guzman.
You,
Mayor Art Martinez Rivera.
Present.
Mary Huckabee.
All right, we'll stand for the invocation of pledge of allegiance.
God, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to hold this special meeting today, to help us make good decisions that will benefit the city of Army. We ask this in your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda item number 1, discuss, consider, and take possible action on a budget policy for the city of Arm.
Okay, it's something that I'll have to get to Jacob to review and get to you guys. But I took the TMCA, municipal budget class in April, and it's something that they brought up. So I have like a general policy, Jacob's been out sick, so I haven't gotten it to him yet, so it's something that I'll bring to you next week.
We'll have that next week.
Well, I'll bring you there. You go, you go on with it.
What's this next week?
Thursday.
Any other discussion on item 1? Hearing none, discuss and update on sewer project.
okay, what I want to know is, I've been here 2 years and 3 months.
Yeah.
I've seen the engineer, Julio, twice. And that's no good for the city. No good for me either. I don't waste my time. So either he shakes up or we're gonna have to look for somebody else. I mean, that's the way I feel.
Yes.
There's nothing being done. He hasn't even seen the people who had to go through the process. He made appointments, he didn't show. So he's gonna have to have one good reason for me. If not, he's gone. You know?
Well,
Excuse me, Mayor. He was supposed to give us an update in May. And we don't have to lie on it. If he would just tell us something.
sure.
Because the people ask, hey, where's the sewer going?
Sure.
And we don't know that.
I'll give him a call and see if he can be here in July. I know Julio and I met with Commissioner Clay Flores last week.
Didn't do me no good.
Well, I know, but give an update. I was going to wait until next meeting, but an issue we have is that, again, I'm trying to get up to speed on all of this, obviously, with this guy in office. But SAW sent us over a proposed USA utility service agreement. And in it, it basically treats the city as a developer, like a private developer. It has fees that would normally be assigned to a private developer, including like prepaid maintenance on the pump stations or the lift stations, in the amount of about slightly under $1 million.
Yeah, it's like $344,000 for us to dedicate the infrastructure, and then like $295,000 per lift station, $295,000 per lift station. So it's like $900,000. Yeah.
So I know Julio called me about that and saying, hey, they've been working with the staff, people that send those things out, and they're not getting anywhere. And you probably need to talk to a decision maker who can say, hey, this is a city, not a private developer building something. So I scheduled a meeting with the county commissioner just to brief her on it, because the county gave us $3 million. they don't want to hear the saws and puts up this barrier to completing. And I'm trying to schedule a meeting with Congressman Gonzalez for the same reason, so that we can approach saws together. Say, hey, we've got $4.5 million here given by the county and the feds, and you're asking us to write a $900,000 check, which is like 80% of our annual budget, and talk to a decision maker, the CEO or something like that. So I know they've been, and I know Casey, I think that came by kind of towards the end of when Casey was there.
It's something we've kind of been working on since November, and originally Saws was not gonna take the project at all. Because we can't compel people to connect to it, and then when we had the development at the Burst Stop property, like that was a driver of it, but when that fell out, Saws just kind of like, you don't have any consumers, we're not gonna take over infrastructure with no consumers. There's no point in us taking it because it starts aging as soon as you build it. So originally they had told us no, that's why we had to get the letters from the property owners to connect. So it's been a whole process. I think we got the fees, maybe it's been March or April when we finally got that USA, and we've been going back and forth on it since then.
But you're right, if they haven't come and done that full briefing, they need to do that. So I'll make sure to call them, so they need to have somebody up here regularly give the briefing. But my understanding is that's kind of been a little bit of the pause.
It's pretty much been October, we've been in a holding pattern because of Saws.
Because we have to overcome that political problem, or that funding, or that fee problem, or we need to go find more funds to pay the fees. Go back to the congressman and say, hey, which is why I wanted him to go with us through that process. So if Saws ends up being what I would say unreasonable or not budging, then we can go back to those folks and say, hey, we don't want to throw away this $4.5 million. We need something, give us another grant next year to cover the fees.
Then we know if we're just trying to work and trying to get us trying something.
So I know they applied for the revolving water fund, and then we've also had IDA. Through IDA, we submitted 2 or 3 grants for sewer also. So it's something we're continuously applying for. Every time there's funding available, we apply for it.
The people have to know,
No, I agree 100%. They gotta be better communication. And I know they're in the valley, but they should at least be able to zoom in or send us a virtual report.
it's too far to out.
Or even if there's even if they send me stuff, like we have a page on the city website, even if they send me stuff, I can just keep updating that page. That would help.
Well, minimally, I could ask them to come here in July, next Thursday, and give us a full update to know where we're at. Because even I don't know all the details of the project, I'm still trying to, just, what's happened the last couple of weeks.
And then the other thing is we need to get the appropriation applied for. So,
For the federal.
yeah, for the appropriation.
Right, maybe it'll come.
Okay.
Let's see how it goes.
Okay, I'll call and relay those concerns, and I agree with those concerns. All right, nothing else on agenda item 2. We'll go to agenda item 3, discuss possible real estate opportunities.
We might do that in executive session, we can do it here. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Run through this.
Yeah, I'd rather do it open. Yeah, if we want to discuss price and offers, we can run into everything else. Consider. So I know recently the city had been looking at possible acquisitions. When I learned of that, I know Mr. Lynch here had recently called me to say, hey, do you know of a good realtor? I'm trying to sell some land, some I-35 frontage land. And when I heard what he was asking for, I thought that might be a good opportunity for the city. So I asked Valerie to appear here on the agenda. So Mr. Lynch has approximately over 3 acres right on I-35, which is between Ridgecrest and his entrance. The reason why we don't know the exact amount is because it hasn't been carved out of a larger piece. It's over 3 acres.
No,
Yep.
it's right at It's a little over 2.5 acres.
Okay, it's 2.5 acres. He was asking, 200,000 an acre. I know that she was also saying, hey, we need to have, a police, law enforcement facility or police station on 35. What I thought was particularly enticing is that there's currently a tenant, manufactured housing consultants, those who rents that currently from Mr. Lynch, to store manufactured homes while they're selling them or in and out, which means it has revenue that comes in. And the current revenue, according to Mr. Lynch, is approximately,
2,800.
I'm sorry?
2,800 a month.
2,800 a month, okay. Which would mean we could potentially purchase that and use those rents to pay or offset the cost to hold it. If and when the sewer line does come through the city, it's supposed to go right through that part of I-35, so we know the cost of land on 35 is going to go through the roof. We expect that, so now might be a good opportunity to kind of lock it in and hold it at the lower price, and with a source of revenue to help pay for it. And so I don't think we're ready this budget year, or possibly even next, to build a police station. But if we could buy and hold it and use those revenues to help pay for the land, whenever it is we are ready to build a police station, not only will it be at the lower kind of current price, but it'll be partially paid off. Also, I talked briefly with Victor Quiroga, our financial advisor, about different possible ways of financing. One of the things we discussed was that it is possible to defer, if we get a new certificate of obligation, for example, to pay for the land, if we're able to defer the principal payment for a couple of years, so it's interest only. But what that would do is allow us to collect these rents for the next 2 years to help pay off our current bond, and free up space in our budget, and that has 2 more payments, 2 more years, 2 more payments. So when that's paid off, then resume the new one. And so effectively, it's not going to impact our budget negatively. In fact, it'd be positive because we'll free up some money so long as the tenant stays on the property and pays the rents. And the amount for the new bond, depending on how much interest you buy, would be roughly the same as our current one. So it would just kind of, one would stop and then whatever. So really, long-term, the impact on the budget.
I've got another option.
Okay.
Option is that the city needs property, to raise the state. It's a good place to be. What I think, it's got 2 meters, got water, got gas line, and asking price is $450, something like that. So the city needs property, we can purchase that property, we can also purchase the other property. And they have a house there, it could be used as a police station, and if it's not suitable, there's grants that we can get. So on the next meeting, my motion is going to be that we purchase the raised estate. We can have both, I think.
Yeah. It's all, but it's a budget issue. We have,
I understand.
is that one, where is that one located? Approximately?
Corner of Business City Road and 35, right in the corner. It's been in the family for one of
It's
years.
just not.
Right.
So
So
it just needs to be whatever.
But I've heard somebody else wanting to build a gas station, they want to build we don't need any more gas stations, we already have 3 or 4.
Yeah, that should be zoned residential.
You got anything to say, city manager? You never speak.
I mean, in a perfect world, we would be able to buy a piece of property and we could like use it for economic development and build a spec building, move some businesses in, I know our financing is kind of limited. The certificates of obligation are just for public works and public safety, yes. And the thing with the police department is we need to look 50, 75 years from now, like what we're gonna need in the future. So when we build, we're building for 50 to 75 years from now, not just right now. So that's one thing to consider with the police department. I do think putting it on 35 is a good idea. And then it's not something that we would need to build right away, you're correct. There's funding for that. There's USDA stuff for police stations. Tony Gonzalez offered, he's verbally said like, hey, you need a police building, like come get with my office. Like there's funding for police stations. So I do think that the real estate is limited and it's only gonna get more expensive. So it's a good opportunity. I think $200,000 a year is crazy expensive, but it's only gonna get more expensive.
The other possibility is whenever we're ready to build, whether it's 5 years, whatever it is, the land valuations shoot up crazy. And it's also that possibility that when you sell it to self-tax producing business to make a profit and then build up the fire police station, behind it or something like that.
Yeah, because it's gonna develop.
Our stretch of 35 there is still pretty much vacant unless it builds up. The value just gonna go.
Yeah, it's only gonna get more expensive, and it's a good location. I know one of them is a good location for a police department. I think we should try to not have it like square in the middle of a residential area just because of the nature of police, but it does come down to financing.
It's probably, I agree that we should put police department, that's probably, that's one of these days gonna be developed. That business is gonna bring some money to the city. I'm sure that police department's gonna bring us some revenue, but not as much. So that's just my opinion. Keep this property here. Just take the money that's coming in now, and later on, maybe some developer would wanna buy it, that we could do something with it.
All the cities in Texas that are really coming to life economically, it's because it's city-driven economic development. The city is buying plots, the city is putting spec buildings, and they're recruiting in the businesses they want. So, but I know you can't do that with a certificate of obligation. So it's your guys' choice.
I think the city will make, what, $500,000 a year? Let's change it.
Sales tax?
Huh?
Well,
We need property.
most of our sales tax is internet sales, so.
Our annual revenue is about 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And,
This is for tax purposes. Property tax, that's what bringing in.
No, I'm talking about sales tax.
More than that? What?
So, sales tax is over 500,000. But if you look at the comparable cities our size that have more development, they're bringing in like $1.5 to $2 million in sales tax. It's quite a bit of difference. So,
now, the other thing is as is evident by what's going on now, while we hold the property, again, there's a tenant on there who will lease it, but also to Valerie's point is, at some point in the future, if there's another tenant who would like to lease commercial, right, that may be a possibility too, right? If Dollar General says, hey, we want a 2-acre site on 35 or whatever, the city could then be a landlord to lease it and then use those revenues for something else.
That's about the only,
And we have taxes coming.
Right, yeah, well, yeah. Or, it'd be 2.5 acres that we own, so whatever we want to do. If we think the rents are the best source of revenue, it's direct, that's one way to do it. You could build our taco truck thing next to it, it's 2.5 acres, and that can generate revenue, or, it's like anything else that I think it's prominent, it's right on I-35, it's right next to Ridgecrest, and there's lots of,
so that's about the only 2 properties that for sale in One Army. All the rest of it, it's been bought or being bought.
Yeah.
You know, so we need those two properties. But, well, I don't know, we have to find this. Do you think it's feasible to get two of them?
Depends on what you want to spend. But, you said I just.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we could,
Oh,
yeah, brief presentation here for you, and this is the first slide here, this is what we showed you before, where we talked about different financing tools. So, to purchase land, for the purposes you're thinking about for a future, public safety facility, it's an eligible, project under state law that you can use either tax notes or certificates obligation. We've issued tax notes twice before, and so that's something that we're used to. Certificate obligation would be something new, just so that we could take it out a little bit longer with the tax notes. If you do that financing tool, under state law, we have to pay that back within a 7-year period. And that's relatively short, especially depending on how much you want to borrow. So the alternative is to do a certificate obligation, and that lets you go beyond the 7 years for repayment so that the payment isn't so big annually for you. So we ran two scenarios here for you. And so if you go to page number 2, this is the debt service pro forma. This is the tax notes. This is so we would just do a tax note. The city can just issue that directly. You don't have to do any type of notice, and there's no election involved with that type of financing tool. And so here, I'll just walk you through that. You see that chart right in the middle. Right now, we're in fiscal year 2025. That annual payment that we have for our current debt is about close to $56,000. So the mayor indicated we have 2 more payments left in fiscal year 26 and 27 that we're paid off on that one. So I ran 3 different options for you here. I just, again, nothing's been decided yet. I ran a $400,000 option, then a $500,000 option, and a $600,000 option. So you can see that I'll just focus on maybe the $500,000 option in the middle there. You can see there, the first 2 years of payments, that's interest only, so that's about $24,000 per year. And then after that, we'll kick in the principal, and you can see the payments go from $24,000 to about $113,000 per year. These are pretty conservative interest rates. I'm assuming a 4.75% for 7 year, which is really conservative because this is just for planning purposes. I want to give you the worst case scenario. So that's what the mayor was talking about, is that we could minimize the first 2 years of payments because we still have debt right now that we're paying off. And then once we pay that off, then we'll kick up the payments on the land purchase, whatever you all decide to do on that financing. So you can see there, let's just say for $500,000, the first 2 years will be $24,000 in addition to the $56,000 that you're already paying. And then after that, it'll kick up to about $112,000 of principal and interest per year. The alternative is the next page, certificates obligation. Those require a couple additional steps. The tax notes, if you were to tell me, after you decided what you want to buy and how much you want to borrow, once you tell me the bond attorneys to move forward, it'll take us about 60 days to complete that financing for you when you tell us to go, and we get you the money into your bank account. So that's a pretty quick process. The second alternative is the certificates obligation. Here, we just assume a 10-year repayment term. But you can see here, if you go back to the $500,000 option, it'll be about $25,000 in interest for the first 2 years. Then after that, instead of $112,000, the payments from years 3 to 10, it's about $76,000 per year instead of the $112,000. So it might be a little bit more affordable, not be such a big hit on your budget because, you know, you want to do other things aside from pay debt. You know, you need to provide services to your community. So with this one, it does take a little bit longer because there's a couple of steps you have to take. First, the city has to approve a notice of intent resolution. Then you have to publish it in the paper for 2 weeks consecutively. The first publication date, it starts a clock. It's a 45-day clock, basically, where we can't lock in an interest rate. We can't sell the debt until after that 45-day clock stops ticking. So because of those extra steps that we have to take, this one will probably take us, instead of 60 days, probably about 90 days to get you the funding once you tell us how much you want to borrow. And so, but before you do that, you know, if you go to the last page here, before you make any decisions, in order to move forward with the successful financing, we're going to need the audits completed. I know you're working on the 23, 24, that'll be completed next month, and so that's good. Might be fit good with your timing here. Also, we need to determine the borrowing amount, how much y'all want to borrow, what you want to buy, determine the financing tool. I think, certificate of obligation might be the most flexible, gives you a little bit more breathing room and not make those payments too high. And then after that, you tell us to go and we'll go and find you the financing for you, depending on how much you want to borrow, how far you want to take that debt out. I did talk to the bond attorney, Dan Martinez, and he said the only thing with purchasing land, and here both of them qualify because you want to put a public safety facility on there, so that's an eligible project for these financing tools. The only thing that the attorney general might require is just to, make sure you get an appraisal before, most people are going to do that before you purchase.
So, on the one we have had an appraisal, so we would just have to get an appraisal on.
Yes, yeah, and that's just the attorney general might ask for that as part of the review process.
I have a question. On your chart on the first page, it says certificate of obligations not to exceed 40 years.
Yes.
Is it possible to do it, say, instead of 10, like 15?
Yeah, we can. The only thing is, the bond amounts that we're talking about here, they're relatively small compared to what other cities and issuers do. And so because it's a relatively smaller transaction, a lot of those banks that we take this paper to will limit it to 10 years, but we could certainly look at possibly 15 years and the buyer pool might be limited, but I think we could find you something out there.
Now, reasonably, you think that you could get, for our 500,000 example, we're at
Yeah.
75,000 a year roughly, 76. You think that could get it closer to the 55 range?
Yeah.
For another 15 years.
Yeah, we'll get close. I don't think we'll get exactly that, but we'll be a lot lower for sure. And so what I could do for you while you're still planning and talking about this, I could talk to some potential investors that we deal with on a daily basis and see if there's an appetite out there for a 15-year for financing that's under $1 million. Because usually that's kind of the threshold. But we have a lot of contacts. I'm thinking we could probably get you something to consider. And we could run that analysis to the 15-year at these 3 levels.
Any other questions?
I said we should do it. I don't have any questions.
I don't need, I would just like to see the 15-year number. I'm just worried about our annual budget.
Yeah.
And if we can get the price down or even closer to what the tenant pays, the better.
I'm sure it's working quick. Yeah.
So,
Get it done.
do you want me to seek an appraisal for the other property?
Is that gonna be required, or is that something that we need to wait and find out if it's gonna be required?
No, Dan sent me I'm not attorney, as you know, and I'll forward it to you all there. You just said, just to make sure, when I talked to you yesterday, just make sure you remind them that the attorney knows going to want an appraisal.
So they will want to appraise.
Yeah, I don't think we need to present it, but I think if they ask, we need to be sure we have it.
We want to know exactly what he's asking for. I don't know.
Right. Okay, that's what the appraisals.
Yeah, and typically most municipalities before they buy land, they're gonna, get an appraisal just to make sure they're paying.
That way we know where we're.
Yeah, that's typically good practice.
So the previous one, we split with the Reyes family, so I think we each paid like $875. So it was like $1,750 total, I think.
And that expense too, if you incur it and then you issue debt for it, you can reimburse yourself from, if you get it through your general fund, you just reimburse yourself.
One of them will pay by itself. And then my question.
It's gonna offset it. It won't pay. We'll be able to offset most of it. Yeah.
So we should go for both properties.
Jacob,
Jacob,
How secure is that lessor, the lessee on the property? Like, is it locked into a long-term lease?
No, it's month to month right now.
Okay, so they can pick up and leave at any time?
Yeah, he started off with a year's lease, each time, and then it just, it just got to be, I know a little bit, and so we just didn't have to worry about it, but I'm sure he would sign a lease if he was asked to.
Okay. Just, that's how you secure that income stream for y'all.
and the reason why I asked Victor about the 2-year interest only was, he's right, there is some long-term risk if the tenant leaves. But if we can get interest only for the next 2 years, then our current debt falls off. And in that worst case scenario, then we're not paying two in any one budget year.
Yeah.
So even if that were, or if we decide, hey, we're ready to build, soon we're ready to build, we're gonna have to.
For example, we're only looking at close to $1 million for both.
Yeah, well, that would be,
So,
What, 450 and 450?
well, this one said it's about 2.5 acres. So
Yeah,
that would be like, if we wanted to buy all 2.5, it would be.
it's 2.6 or
2.6. So,
is that-
so maybe let me ask you, you said the term was 10 or possibly 15 because it's under $1 million. If we were to borrow $1 million,
It'll help us market it a little bit better.
because if we were to do that, we couldn't afford payment unless it was
Yeah, right.
20 year, 25 year, a longer note on that.
The city will have property.
Correct. But yeah, I'm saying the impact on the budget.
It's
So,
not payment.
so this is, at $500,000, it's 75,000, so I'm assuming at $1 million,
Mhm.
if you double that, that'd be $150,000 annual payment, which is triple what we're paying now. So either we have to cut back 100,000
On something.
on something, or finance it further out, which makes it pay more in the long run, but at least it brings that annual payment.
And a lot of times, too, if we're going to find a buyer that will want to go beyond a 10-year period, a lot of times with these private financing that we do, they have them where you could pay them down at any time or anything like that. So you have that option. You're not going to be stuck for the long term. You'll have some options to pay it down. You would end up selling it or what have you.
I mean, you know, our city revenues are gonna be, we manage the city, right? Increasing over time. I know our first year, our budget was 80,000 for the whole year, now we're at 1.2 million, so you're right. So 10 years from now, we might have triple, quadruple the budget, and you can pay it down.
There's 2.5 acres, is it right on front, 35 acres?
Yeah, it's around 35, it's between, where you turn into Ridgecrest.
Next one,
Yes, it's the next one towards 604. And I know, if I remember, I did Casey just put in the new water line?
yeah, he had the, water line run from 35 to 1604 to their, one of their,
So it's got a brand new water line on it. So that we won't have to improve that.
In fact, on the side of the septic tank.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Right between the two. Yeah.
it's part of the water line I paid for, cost me a whole bunch.
Okay, I think, at this point, it makes sense then to order the appraisal. And then we can bring it back, I guess, on July 10th, maybe Victor can give us some numbers for the different possibilities, the 10-year, maybe the 20-year, the million, or whatever, and then we can,
Make it good, Mr. Klein.
yeah,
Yeah.
make it affordable.
Unfortunately, I'll have to send a report. I'm on vacation starting next week,
Okay.
in July.
That's fine, you guys, before you can call me and we can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm available. You walk through it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
That's it, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Adjournment.
Second,
Thank you.
all in favor? Ayes have it, it is 9:34, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah. You wanna go look at it?
I think I'm gonna check.
Okay.
You're welcome.
One,
Take